Welcome to the Shigeki podcast, where science and longevity come together to help you feel stronger, sharper, and more in control of your health after 60. I'm Dr. Mark Hyman, and if this is your first time joining us, I'm a functional medicine doctor who spent decades helping people reverse chronic illness and age with vitality. And with me, as always, is someone I deeply admire, Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, a legendary physician whose philosophy of aging gracefully has inspired millions around the world. Today, we're not going to tell stories or ease into it, because this one matters. Let me ask you directly, do you drink coffee in the morning? And more importantly, what do you put in it? Most people over 60 don't realize this. But what you add to your coffee or don't add could be either quietly hurting your brain or helping protect your memory for years to come.
That's right, Mark. Memory decline after 60 is very common, but that does not mean it's inevitable. It is not your destiny. In Japan, we often say, the brain is like a garden. It only forgets if you stop feeding it. And one of the most powerful moments of your day to nourish the brain is in the morning during your coffee routine. So instead of reaching for sugar or artificial creamers, what if you could add something simple, natural, even delicious that supports your memory, your focus, and your long-term brain health?
That's exactly what we're going to show you today. We've put together a powerful yet easy-to-follow coffee ritual, 5 natural ingredients you can stir into your morning cup to boost blood flow to the brain, fight inflammation, support neurotransmitters, and keep your memory strong. And before we dive in, a quick reminder, if you or someone you love drinks coffee every day, this episode is for you. Like, subscribe, and share, because one small habit change could help protect your brain for the years ahead.
Now let's take a step back and understand what really happens to the brain after 60 and why your morning coffee might matter more than you think. As we age, several things begin to shift inside the brain. First, we start losing connections between neurons, what we call synapses, and that weakens our ability to store and retrieve information. Second, blood flow to the brain decreases, which means fewer nutrients and less oxygen get delivered to the areas responsible for focus and memory. Then there's inflammation, the silent accelerator of aging. Low-grade chronic inflammation can shrink brain tissue and impair the delicate balance of brain chemicals like dopamine and acetylcholine, both of which are essential for attention, mood, and memory. So where does coffee come in?
Most people think of coffee as just a morning pick-me-up. And yes, caffeine does temporarily wake up the brain by blocking adenosine and stimulating alertness. But if you use it right, if you support your coffee with the right ingredients, it can do far more than just keep you awake. It can actually help protect memory long-term, because in fact, caffeine in moderate amounts increases blood flow to the brain, especially the hippocampus, which is the memory center. When the hippocampus is well-nourished and oxygenated, your memory works better, your focus sharpens, and your thinking becomes clearer. But here's the key. Caffeine is only one piece of the puzzle. When combined with other memory-supportive compounds like polyphenols, healthy fats, or adaptogenic herbs, your morning coffee becomes more than a habit. It becomes a form of gentle brain therapy. That's why we call it a ritual. You're not just drinking coffee, you're using it as a delivery system to send blood, energy, and nutrients to your aging brain right when it needs it most.
And here's the catch. If you do it wrong, if you load your coffee with sugar, artificial creamers, flavored syrups, you turn something potentially healing into something harmful. Instead of fighting inflammation, you fuel it. Instead of helping your memory, you make it worse. So in today's episode, we'll show you 5 ingredients you can add to your coffee that turn it from just another drink into a smart daily ritual for a sharper brain.
Okay, get started. I want to start this section with a quick story. One of my longtime patients, a 68-year-old retired teacher, came to me complaining about what she called morning brain fog. Every day around 9 a.m., she'd feel mentally sluggish, like her thoughts were moving through molasses. She drank her usual black coffee-skipped breakfast and hoped the caffeine would carry her through. But it didn't. One day I suggested something simple. Try adding a small pinch of cinnamon to her coffee. Just a quarter of a teaspoon. and what happened. Within a week, she told me her focus had improved, her energy felt more stable, and she no longer needed a second cup just to stay alert.
That's not surprising. Cinnamon isn't just a spice, it's one of the most brain-friendly ingredients you can add to your morning ritual. What makes it so powerful is how it helps regulate blood sugar. After 60, the brain becomes more sensitive to glucose fluctuations. If your blood sugar spikes and crashes, your mental clarity crashes with it. Cinnamon helps smooth out those peaks and valleys, giving your brain a steady stream of fuel throughout the morning. That's key for memory, especially short-term recall and mental stamina.
Cinnamon works by improving insulin sensitivity, allowing glucose to enter cells, including brain cells, more efficiently. It also has strong anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties, which means it helps protect brain tissue from oxidative stress, one of the main drivers of cognitive decline. What's even more interesting is its subtle influence on brain chemistry. Cinnamon can slightly increase dopamine levels, a neurotransmitter responsible for motivation, attention, and learning. It doesn't overstimulate like caffeine can, but it gently enhances focus and alertness.
If you want to try this at home, just start small. Use about a quarter teaspoon of finely ground cinnamon, preferably Ceylon cinnamon, which is lower in compounds that can irritate the liver. Stir it directly into your morning coffee. It blends best with warm coffee, especially when paired with a touch of healthy fat, like coconut oil or oat milk. But remember, more is not better. Using too much cinnamon can irritate your stomach, especially if you drink coffee on an empty stomach. Keep the dose low and consistent, and let the brain-friendly benefits build gently over time.
Next, there's a beautiful tradition from the highlands of Peru that I think more people should know about. For centuries, their elders have used a root called Maca to boost stamina, sharpen the mind, and maintain focus well into old age. It's not exotic or expensive, just a humble plant that nourishes the body from within. Now, what makes Maca particularly special for seniors is how it supports the brain by working through the hormonal system. Unlike coffee, which gives you a quick burst of alertness, Maca takes a more foundational approach. It gently restores balance to the HPA axis, the connection between your brain and adrenal glands that manages stress, energy, and focus.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. When the HPA axis is dysregulated, which happens often after 60, due to chronic stress, sleep problems, or medication, your brain doesn't get the signals it needs to function clearly. You might feel tired, foggy, or just mentally dull. Maca helps bring that system back into rhythm. It's also rich in flavonoids and amino acids compounds that help your brain cells communicate more smoothly. And when communication improves, so does memory. I've seen patients who were struggling with word recall or short-term memory regain confidence after just a few weeks of adding Maca to their morning routine.
And that's what I love about it. The shift is subtle but powerful. It doesn't overstimulate. Instead, it brings your energy and focus gently back online. In fact, many people say they feel more emotionally stable, more mentally flexible, like the mental cobwebs are being swept away. So, how can you use it?
It's simple. Just stir half a teaspoon of Maca powder into your morning coffee. It blends in easily and adds a warm, slightly nutty flavor. But one important note: timing matters. Because Maca energizes your system, it's best used in the first half of the day. If you take it after 3 p.m., it might interfere with your ability to wind down at night. So think of it like this: if caffeine is the spark, Maca is the steady flame. Together, they turn your morning cup into something far more powerful than a routine. They make it a memory-supporting ritual, one that could help your brain stay sharp, stable, and focused for years to come.
Let's move on to something simple, almost ancient, that most people forget. When it comes to brain health, your brain runs on sugar, but not just any sugar. It needs stable, clean glucose delivered gently and steadily. And one of the most natural, effective sources of that is raw honey. We've all been told to cut sugar, and that's fair when we're talking about refined white sugar or artificial sweeteners. But raw honey is different. It's not just sweet, it's functional. It comes with antioxidants, enzymes, and trace nutrients that actually nourish the brain. I often remind my patients the brain uses up more energy than any other organ in the body. So, if you're waking up foggy, slow, or irritable, your brain may simply be underfueled.
That's a great point. In fact, one of the reasons people over 60 often feel unsteady in the morning is because their blood sugar has dropped overnight. The brain doesn't store fuel the way muscles do. It needs a constant supply, especially after sleep. And raw honey, taken in moderation, gives you just enough glucose to jumpstart your mental clarity without spiking insulin the way processed sugar does. But what makes honey even more fascinating is what it brings beyond the glucose. Raw honey contains natural compounds like pinobanxin and chrysin, which have been shown to reduce inflammation in the brain, particularly in the hippocampus, the area responsible for memory. These antioxidants can protect the brain from oxidative stress, a silent but serious factor in age-related cognitive decline.
Exactly. And let's not forget the emotional side of brain health. So many older adults deal with mood swings, anxiety, or even mild depression, often tied to poor blood sugar regulation. Raw honey provides a stable release of energy that supports not just memory, but also emotional balance. There's even evidence that raw honey can help modulate cortisol, the stress hormone, when consumed in the morning. Now, there's a right way to use it. Heat destroys many of the natural enzymes in raw honey. So, if you're adding it to coffee, don't drop it straight into a boiling hot cup. Let the coffee cool slightly, ideally below 40 Celsius. Then stir in just 1 teaspoon of raw honey. That's all you need.
And be selective with the kind of honey you use. Raw, unfiltered honey, ideally local, is best. Avoid supermarket brands that are overly processed or cut with syrup. Those lose most of the health benefits. Real honey should have texture, scent, and even a bit of variation in color. That's how you know it's alive, and when it's alive, it gives life to your brain. So if you're looking for a simple way to boost your focus, memory, and even your mood, raw honey might be the sweet little upgrade your coffee's been waiting for.
Talk about the fourth ingredient. Over the years, I've seen a familiar pattern in many older patients. They wake up, drink a cup of coffee, and shortly after they feel lightheaded, a little dizzy, or even a bit mentally foggy. Most of them assume it's just aging or low energy, but in many cases it's actually something much simpler, mild mineral depletion after a long night's sleep. You see, as we age, our bodies become more sensitive to shifts in hydration and electrolyte balance. Overnight, we lose fluids through breathing and perspiration. If we don't replenish our minerals properly in the morning, we start the day with low blood volume and imbalanced nerve signals. And that's exactly where mineral-rich salt, like pink Himalayan salt or natural sea salt, can make a difference.
That's a great insight, Mark. While most people think of salt as something to avoid, they forget that quality mineral salts used in tiny amounts actually support essential brain functions. Minerals like sodium, magnesium, potassium, and calcium all help regulate nerve transmission and blood pressure. When those minerals are missing or too low, your brain doesn't get enough blood flow, and that can lead to poor focus, fatigue, and, yes, even memory issues. Adding just a pinch of unrefined mineral salt to your morning coffee can help restore that balance. It supports osmotic pressure, improves circulation, and helps your nervous system wake up properly. It's like giving your brain a gentle reminder that the day has started.
Exactly. I often tell my patients, especially those who wake up groggy or have a history of low blood pressure, to start the day with hydration plus a trace of real salt. When you combine that with warm coffee, you create a powerful, brain-friendly morning ritual. But not just any salt will do. You want to avoid regular table salt or highly refined options. They lack the trace minerals your body actually needs. Instead, use a mineral-rich salt like pink Himalayan or Celtic sea salt. And keep the dose tiny, just a pinch, no more than what you could fit on the tip of a toothpick.
Of course, if your doctor has advised you to limit sodium due to kidney or heart issues, this may not be for you. But for many older adults, especially those not eating processed foods, this small addition can do wonders. So the next time you pour that morning cup of coffee, consider adding a whisper of mineral salt. It might just sharpen your focus and keep you steady on your feet, both literally and mentally.
Last but not least, I want to tell you this. I had a patient in his early 70s, a retired architect who loved his morning coffee, but often felt mentally sluggish by mid-morning. One day, almost as an experiment, he started adding a small piece of 85% dark chocolate into his coffee. Not sugar-laden milk, chocolate, just a clean, bitter square of the good stuff. After a few weeks, he told me something had shifted, like his thinking was quicker, his mood lighter, and he no longer hit that mid-morning mental dip. And that's not just a coincidence. There's real science behind what he experienced. Dark chocolate, or more specifically raw cacao, is one of the richest natural sources of flavonols, plant compounds that have powerful effects on the brain and blood vessels.
Yes, and this is where cacao shines as a brain food. The flavonols in cacao help increase blood flow to the brain, especially in areas related to memory and executive function. That means your brain cells get more oxygen and nutrients, and that can lead to sharper recall, better attention, and even faster problem solving. But there's more. Cacao also has antioxidant properties that neutralize free radicals' unstable molecules that damage cells and accelerate brain aging. When we reduce that oxidative stress, we protect the brain's structure and support long-term mental clarity. And let's not forget the mood benefits. Cacao can increase serotonin and dopamine levels in the brain, the very chemicals that support motivation, pleasure, and emotional balance. That's why dark chocolate feels comforting without being sedating. For seniors especially, a gentle lift in these neurotransmitters can make the difference between a foggy morning and a productive, focused one.
Of course, as always, quality matters. You don't want to use processed chocolate filled with sugar and dairy. Instead, aim for chocolate that's at least 70% cacao, ideally 85% or more. Even better, use raw cacao powder, which retains more of the flavonols and antioxidants. Add a small piece, about 5 grams of dark chocolate, directly into your warm coffee and let it melt slowly, or stir in a teaspoon of unsweetened cacao powder. It gives your coffee a rich, satisfying flavor, and it turns a simple drink into a memory-boosting tool. So, if you want to upgrade your morning without adding more caffeine or more pills, chocolate might be the sweetest way to do it. When chosen wisely, it's not a treat, it's brain support in a cup.
Now that you know what to put in your coffee, let's talk about when and how to drink it, because timing matters just as much as ingredients. For most people, the ideal window is about 30 to 60 minutes after waking up. That's when your natural cortisol levels, the hormones that help you feel alert in the morning, start to decline. Pairing your coffee with that gentle dip in cortisol creates a smooth energy lift without overstimulation or a crash later on. Too many people make the mistake of drinking coffee too early, within 5 minutes of waking, or too late in the day, especially after lunch. If you wait until mid-afternoon, caffeine can linger in your system and interfere with melatonin production at night. That means poor sleep, and poor sleep leads directly to memory problems. So as a rule of thumb, morning is best, and avoid coffee after 2 p.m. if you want your brain to rest and recover properly overnight.
And I'd like to add something that's not often said: how you approach your coffee ritual matters too. We don't need to rush coffee. We can make it slowly, pour mindfully, and drink it in silence by the window or in the garden. It's not about caffeine, it's about presence. I believe that your morning coffee can be your first act of self-care for the day. When you add cinnamon, Maca honey, a pinch of mineral salt, or dark chocolate, do it with intention. Stir slowly, breathe in the aroma, feel the warmth in your hands. That too is a form of therapy for the nervous system.
You're absolutely right. After 60, mental clarity isn't just something we hope for, it's something we must build every day through small, consistent habits. And this coffee ritual isn't just about the brain-boosting compounds. It's about creating a space for your mind to prepare for the day. So don't just drink coffee, honor it. Make it part of your morning rhythm, because at this stage of life, mental sharpness is the most precious gift you can give yourself. And it begins with how you start each day.
So here's the big picture. You don't need to give up coffee. You don't have to stop enjoying that quiet moment each morning with your favorite mug. You just need to drink it a little more wisely. Because the truth is, your brain is changing slowly, silently, and what you put into your body each day is either helping that change or speeding up the decline. A few small upgrades in your coffee ritual, a pinch of cinnamon, a bit of maca, a spoonful of raw honey, some dark chocolate, or even a touch of mineral salt can have a bigger impact than most people realize. These aren't trends, they're tools, natural, accessible, and backed by science. And when used daily, they help build a brain that's more resilient to age, stress, and inflammation.
And you don't need to wait until something feels wrong to start. That's a mistake many people make. They wait until memory begins to slip, until names are harder to recall, or until they feel mentally foggy every afternoon. But healthy aging doesn't begin with treatment. It begins with prevention. And prevention begins with the little things we do every morning. That's why I always say, coffee isn't a magic pill, but it can become a quiet, dependable friend to your brain if you treat it that way. It's not just about what's in your cup, it's about the intention behind it. Are you starting your day with clarity in mind, or just going through the motions? That one question makes all the difference.
So, if you're still wondering where to begin, start small. Choose one of the 5 ingredients we shared today and try it tomorrow. See how it feels, then try another. The most important thing is to take that first step, not next week, not next year, but now. Because a sharper brain 5 or 10 years from now starts with the decision you make this morning. And if you found this episode helpful, pass it on. Share it with someone you care about who still drinks coffee every day but hasn't yet discovered how powerful that habit can really be. Leave us a comment, let us know what you'll try tomorrow, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time when we'll talk about the best nighttime drinks to protect your joints and bones. See you soon.